Welcome back. Oh, yeah, man, how you doing? You good? I know you like that. I know you like that. How long you been back, man?
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Cover 3 radio show here on EC Radio. My name is Cody Osco by Shaq, and today we have a very, very special episode. We have the 2018 NBA season preview, and it's a double special episode because for those of you who do know, I am the most avid Red Sox fan of all time. And right now, as you're watching the show, the Red Sox are playing. And if you thought I was going to miss that game, you are sorely mistaken because I am right now watching the game while this is live. So, fair warning. You will see pause for a second and tell you what is happening. I cannot do this show and not watch this game. It's just not possible. So anyway, we are going to be talking about NBA, the NBA season that is happening tonight. Starting tonight, the Celtics take on the Philadelphia 76ers to open up the game, and then I believe it's Warriors Thunder in Oakland. The banner title ceremony will happen, and then they'll play the latter half of the opening night on TNT tonight. But the NBA season is back, and it is full play. In my mind, it's playoff baseball season. But for the majority of America, it is the NBA season. So just like last year, we are going to go through who I believe is going to make the playoffs, why they are seated the way they are. Also, any notable omissions. Before we get started, make sure to follow the Twitter at the_cover_3. So THE_COVER_3. Make sure to follow the Twitter. I've been tweeting all about the postseason, all about different things. So basically, that's the miscellaneous stuff that I don't fit onto the show. I will explain via Twitter. So if you are in the Twitterverse, definitely make sure to give me a follow so you can keep up to date. And not just your hour on Tuesdays from 6 to 7. Also, I do have to mention, I am writing for a website at Celtics Pulse. You can follow them on Twitter at Celtics Pulse. And now the NBA season is here. More articles. I'm hoping to write at least 2 articles a week. It's Celtics majority-wise, but also NBA focus as well. We have podcasts as well. I host and I'm on most of those podcasts as well. So if you just can't get enough of Cody Shalafu and you do need more of his beautiful voice in your ears, definitely go follow Celtics Pulse as well and be on the lookout for articles that I am dropping. Thirdly, I am on YouTube as well. Go on YouTube and type in the Cover 3 radio show. I'm here. I'm live streaming right now. So if you want to join along, then you want to see my ugly mug, definitely jump on now and see. I don't know exactly how the live stream works. It's very rankedy. It's just basically streaming off my phone just so I can put it out there. So definitely if you want to go see that, you can go on that as well. Try it out. Let me know how it is so I know in the future to make it better for all of y'all's. I think that's all the introductory stuff I want to get into. Or before we start, I do want to say last week I was on a field trip for school because I am a busy college student. I know Brandy's loves to hear that it's school first, always school first. So school came in the way. A week ago I did a half-hour show because I'm also broadcasting games here on campus as well. So if you also want to know about that, I will let you guys know every week when I am broadcasting. I will let you know via Twitter what games I am broadcasting what time. So if you do also want to show up for that as well, make sure to follow in the games. And the has fantastic sports. But anyway, you didn't come here for all that. We are here. It is Tuesday at 6 p.m. Everyone is on their couch with the popcorn ready to see what Cody has in store for them today. NBA season. So, like I mentioned, the NBA season is starting off, and two of the more talented teams in the league, or 4 of the more talented teams in the league, are kicking it off tonight. And let's start in the Eastern Conference. I'm going to go from 1 to 8, and then any notable omissions I have. It would be crazy to put anyone at number 1 other than the Boston Celtics. And that's not even my Celtics bias. It's not even that banner you see right above my head if you are watching on YouTube that has all those years that we won. But the Boston Celtics are just a stacked team. They have, I don't want to say they have a chance at beating the Warriors, but they have the best chance of anyone too. I feel like they could push them to a 6-7 game series. Just with the talent they have right now. If you look at their starting lineup, you have Kyrie Irving, who's a top 10 player in the NBA, in my opinion. Probably the 3rd best player in the East. If you're taking Kawhi Leonard and Giannis Antetokounmpo. No, actually, I wouldn't say 2nd best player. I think he's a little bit better than Giannis. If you also have Gordon Hayward, who will have to see what he's coming off, but he was a consensus top 25 player in the league as well, coming in after last year. He hurt his ankle, and now we have a full year of him, hopefully. He'll see what he can do. Another year, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Jaylen took an extra step I didn't think he was going to take until probably this year. He took it last year, so now he's going to have to build off of that, and hopefully there are big things to come for him. He's one of the more promising young players in the league. Al Horford and Jason Tatum, a rookie last year, basically was the man in the playoffs last year. Did a very, very good job of being that guy. Al Horford is one of the more versatile defenders. And then their bench is one of the deepest in the league. You have Aaron Baines, Marcus Morris, Marcus Smart, Terry Rozier, Daniel Tice, Semi Ojeleye. That is probably a starting five somewhere. Terry Rozier, that's a starting five somewhere in the league. A very low-end team, that's a starting five for them. 2 years ago, Brooklyn would have loved to have that starting five. They would have probably gave us more draft picks for that starting five, if we're being honest. And that's our bench. That's the Celtics bench. They have one of the deepest bench. Do I think they have the deepest bench in the league? Actually, I don't. I think they have the second deepest / best bench in the league. And we'll get to number 2 in just a minute, or number 1 in just a minute. But the Celtics could push 70 games. I do truly believe that. This is the second year of this core group together. And that's only more time to mesh. That's only more time to know whose roles who's doing this. And then you also have the second best coach in the league in Brad Stevens, in my opinion. Other than Greg Popovich, who else is better than Brad Stevens? So that's why I have at number 1. Any other points? You can match up with any lineup. There are going to be times where Gordon Hayward or Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown are going to come off the bench because one team's running big, and you're going to have Aaron Baines and Al Horford in there. If you need more defensive lineup, you can put Marcus Morris in the starting lineup or Marcus Smart in the starting lineup. You can mix and match. Like I said, our bench is a starting five somewhere in the league. So we can mix and match a lot of different things. I would not be surprised if Jaylen gets a few games off the bench, if Jason Tatum gets a few games off the bench, if Gordon Hayward gets a few games off the bench. Because right now, what it's looking like is Kyrie at the 1, Jaylen at the 2, Gordon at the 3, Tatum at the 4, and Horford at the 5. You can put Horford at the 4, Baines at the 5. You can put, and then Tatum on the bench, or move Tatum at the 3, put Gordon on the bench, or even moving this like that, put Gordon at the 2. You can do a bunch of different things in this lineup, and Brad Stevens is going to have a lot of fun with it. And they are my consensus number one team in the East. If we're looking at number 2 in the East, we have the Toronto Raptors. You take the Raptors team as it is, subtract DeMar DeRozan, add Kawhi Leonard. That's an instant upgrade. I like DeMar DeRozan. I think he's a top 20 player in the NBA, but in my opinion, Kawhi's the 3rd best player in the NBA. A phenomenal defender, a great offensive player. He's the 3rd best player in the league, in my opinion, my humble right opinion. But anyway, he is adding to this Raptors team that already had Kyle Lowry, who is an underrated guard. He's not like the 3rd best point guard in the league or anything, but I think he's a top 10 point guard. He's very serviceable, 17 and 8. Give you good defense, will shoot the 3 ball very effectively and very well. So there's nothing really to laugh at there. You also they get Danny Green in the trade as well. He was one of the better 3-and-D players. He sort of was that. What's the word I'm looking for? The pioneer of that 3-and-D technique and that 3-and-D player that every team needs and wants and is always looking for at the trade deadline and in drafts and everything. You also turn it around and go over to Jonas Valanciunas and Serge Ibaka down low, and it's not a great pairing down low, but it's not the worst pairing in the league either. So they're a pretty good pairing down there as well. OG Anunoby is an up-and-coming player, and their bench is very good. Norman Powell, Delone Wright, Fred VanVleet, Pascal Siakam. I believe they have the best bench in the league. If we are looking at deepest bench in the NBA, I wrote down right here. And great defensive team: Lowry, Anunoby, Leonard, Green. Valanciunas isn't a slouch on defense, a good rim protector. And obviously, Serge Ibaka, he's a good defender as well. And off the bench, Pascal Siakam's long. They're a very, very good team, and I have them in the number 2 seed in the East. Now, number 3 is the Milwaukee Bucks. And the Milwaukee Bucks are interesting because as I was looking at their roster, I was like, I can see them being Like I could see them being a 3 seed. I could also see them being a 7 seed, like they were last year. And here's why. Giannis is a top 10 player. I think I have him number 9 in my top 10 rankings, which we might do some other time later on down the road, or I'll quickly go through it in this episode. But anyway, Giannis is a hell of a player, obviously. But if you look at that team around him, you have, Eric Bledsoe is a good point guard. Malcolm Brogdon's a good role player. Chris Middleton's a solid number 2 option. He low-key scored 20 points a game last year, which is very good on top of the defense he brings as well. If you look at Brook Lopez, who's coming in, you have John Henson. The names are nice, but I don't think they're as nice as people think they are. The one thing that I do see is good shooting around Giannis. And the whole thing was Giannis has to learn to shoot. And I'm like, well, LeBron's a decent three-point shooter. We never really had to learn to shoot. And I'm not trying to, say that Giannis is on the level of LeBron, but they have very similar games. They get to the basket and they create for others, and they do what they are, physical freaks. Like they play very similar games. And Giannis will never have to shoot a 3 in his life to win an MVP. I don't think so. Because what he can do, it's so hard to stop what he can do now. If he adds a 3, I think it's game over for the NBA. He might be the most overpowered player. He's like Kevin Durant on steroids if he can learn how to shoot a 3. I don't think he will. But you have Middleton. Brogdon's a good shooter. Lopez in the last 2 years have shot 3s. I'm not 100% sold on him as a 3-point shooter or 3-point specialist, but if he's open in the corner, he'll make it, or on the wing, he'll make it. And they just got Jody Meeks from the Washington Wizards yesterday, which is a good three-point shooter. And they're adding all this 3-point, and Dante Divincenzo, they got in the draft. They're adding all of this 3-point shooting around Giannis, which is a recipe for success in my opinion. They're also playing in a very, very weak Central Division where they'll get to play Cleveland. They'll get to play Chicago. There's one more team. There's the Pacers. There's one more team in there that I'm just slipping right now. My mind, Chicago, the Pacers, the Bucks, the Bulls, someone else. They play Central. Anyway, they're not that good. That's what I'm trying to get at. If I don't remember, they're not that good. So they're gonna get a few easy games just in division play, and then they'll also prey on the worst teams. They do have to play perfect though to beat the really, really good teams. The Houston Rockets, even the Oklahoma City Thunder, the Boston Celtics, the Toronto Raptors, all the teams ahead of them, all the teams near them, they have to play perfect because they don't have that player. They don't have those multiple players who'd be like, all right, he's struggling, go to you. Giannis has to be on his game every time they play a good opponent. Middleton has to hit every single shot when he's playing a good opponent. They just have to play very, very well when they're playing these good opponents, and that could make or break them this year. JD Martinez works an 0-2 count and walks on 4 pitches. Love that guy. 2-1. By the way, 2-1 score. Boston on top of the third. JD on base, and here comes Xander Bogaerts. Anyway. Moving on, number 4, the opponent of the Celtics tonight, the 76ers, one of the most up-and-coming young teams in the NBA so far. Last year, we played them in the playoffs, and we beat them 4-1. Ha-ha! But Joel Embiid will be a top 10 player at season's end. If he can play 70 games, he's a legit MVP and Defensive Player of the Year candidate. He's my pick to put Defensive Player of the Year. If you want to know my awards predictions, go check out my Twitter. I tweeted them earlier today. Ha-ha. Anyway, but he is extremely, extremely good in defensively, offensively. They have Ben Simmons, who all they hate he gets because he can't shoot a jump shot at all. He's still a very, very good player without that ability, which is actually kind of scary to think of how he is that effective and that, I don't want to say dominant, but that great, while not even having a big part of the essential part of basketball that he has mastered, or at least okay at this point. Great playmaker, outstanding rebounder, just 6'10", just built like LeBron, really in the way their games are played. You also have those 3D players like Robert Covington. You have the JJ Redick who can shoot. Markelle Fultz. I'm looking for a big year on Markelle Fultz. I was very high on Markelle Fultz last year before he got hurt. I really wanted him on the Celtics, if we're being frank right now. Great, like I said, excellent young talent. You have Dario Saric as well in there. They have a very good team around them. I would assume that they'd put JJ in the starting lineup and have Markelle Fultz run the second unit with TJ McConnell, who's not a bad role player as well. But we'll have to see tonight what they really do. Like I said, they are playing the Celtics right at 8 o'clock. So hopefully this game is going to extra innings so I can actually watch that. But that's where I have the Philadelphia 76ers. And talent-wise, they're better than the Bucks. I just think that they have to play us, the Celtics, 4 or 5 times. I think 6 times. No, I think it's 4 times. 4 times a year. They have to play the Raptors 4 times a year. That could potentially be like a 3-5 record or a 2-6 record. Just because I think those other 2 teams are just above them right now. And that could just give them 6 losses off the bat and be like, whatever. As Xander Bogaerts draws the walks too, 2-on for Stephen Pierce against Dallas Keuchel and the Houston Astros. So that's why I have them at number 4. They easily could be 3. I could see them being 2. 1, 2, and 4 are very interchangeable. Well, I think Celtics are number 1. Philadelphia could be up there. Raptors could be a little bit lower. Milwaukee could be way lower. So that all just what I think is happening. Sort of looking at my crystal ball right now. But number 5, we are getting the Indiana Pacers coming out with Tyreke Evans and company, or Victor Oladipo and company. This is a very big. Where do I want to start? There are three places I was starting all at one time. Like I mentioned, the most professional sports show you'll ever hear is the Cover 3 here on EC Radio. But start with the Tyreke Evans signing. So I believe, me personally, is the probably the best free agent signing when in terms to fit to team of the entire off season. Tyreke Evans played very well with Memphis last year, being a facilitator, being a scoring option on a second unit of Memphis that really needed it. And if they were if Marc Gasol, Mike Conley, as I hit the mic there, don't get hurt. I'm not saying they're a playoff team, but they're definitely more in the hunt than they were last year. They're definitely not picking number 4 last year if Conley and Gasol are healthy and Tyreke Evans is playing the way he is. He's my candidate for, I believe, 6th man of the year. He's an extremely great bench piece. And the one thing that killed Indiana, because Indiana almost beat Cleveland the first round last year. People forget that. Indiana they took them to 7 games. It was a close game 7 if my memory does serve me correct. And the one thing that every single time that Indiana lost is because Victor Oladipo came out and they had no one to run that second unit. Tyreke Evans can run that second unit. He can run it very well. He is going to run it very well, in my opinion. That's going to keep they're going to keep Indiana at 5. I can see Indiana winning the division over Milwaukee if they struggle. I definitely can. Victor Oladipo is an extremely great young player, a top 25 player in the NBA, potentially even top 20 player in the NBA. If he gets one more year of what he did last year, he could be a top 15 player in the NBA, and that's no joke. He was insane last year. All defensive team, led the league in steals, 24 points a game, great shooting splits, just a phenomenal breakout year for Victor Oladipo. And I've always loved Victor Oladipo, especially in college in Indiana, and I thought he was going to be the number 1 overall pick when he came out. Anthony Bennett took that privilege. But Victor Oladipo is an extremely great player, extremely young talent, one of the futures of the NBA. He's going to show it. He's going to have a very good year. Another player that has that potential is Miles Turner. 7 foot, great rim protection, can step out and shoot the 3. Step out and shoot the 3, rather. If he can improve, he's what I like to call a Ryan Tannehill player, where go. Whoa! If you are not watching this Red Sox game, Tony Kemp just made an outstanding play at the wall, which basically cost the Red Sox 2 runs, which I'm a little upset about. But round of applause there. If you haven't seen it, or if you're watching the game right now, turn it on or see it after. That was an outstanding play. Outstanding play by Tony Kemp. See, like I told you, you're just going to see me stop and talk about baseball. But anyway, back when I was getting, he's my Ryan Tannehill player, and you know how I like those players. So next year's the year, next year's the year, next year's the year, and they never quite get it. Miles Turner has the luxury, and the NBA has the luxury where every player that comes out is like 12 years old. So they have forever to really develop their potential. Miles Turner, I believe, is 23, 24. He just got an extension for, I believe, around $11 million. I think it's like 4 years, 40-something, if I'm not mistaken. So he got an extension, a very affordable extension in my opinion. And if he improves and he's that next level like a lot of people think he is and what I thought he was going to do last year, he can be a very, very good secondary piece of that Indiana team, and they can go a long way. Also have great shooting around them. They got a few good pieces. McDermott, Kyle Quinn, they do have some big good pieces. Now, number 7 are the Washington Wizards. Now, last year I was a lot higher on the Washington Wizards, and last year John Wall did get hurt, but they sort of proved everyone sort of like they're not there yet. The Wizards added Dwight Howard, which could be a very, very good thing or a very, very bad thing. And now Dwight Howard has that tendency and that stigma around him of being just a not good player when it comes to locker room and keeping morale together. He wants to be the guy, and he hasn't been the guy since 2012 or 2013, and he can't get that over his thick skull. And I love Dwight Howard. He was one of my favorite players growing up. He was someone I wanted to be like when I was playing basketball. In my youth days. Add him to John Wall and Bradley Beal, who have had locker room troubles with each other for the last 3 years. Once Bradley Beal was like, all right, I'm pretty good, John. And John Wall's like, all right, still my team, Brad. And they've been fighting back and forth. You've heard rumors before as well. They did add Austin Rivers. They got Austin Rivers from Marcin Gortat. And Gortat was rumored to have also struggles because he was like, both of you shut the heck up. Like, I want to win games and you two suck. But John Wall needs to be a leader. John Wall needs to have an all-NBA season, in my opinion. He's one of the better players in the NBA, top 20 player, definitely. But he was, in my opinion, the 3rd best point guard in the league last year, coming into last year. He is now in my 6th best point. He had a big drop, and he did only play half the season. But I think while he was playing too, he didn't really put out what I wanted. He's still a great ball handler, a great ball facilitator, one of the better playmakers in the game of basketball, period. I would say he's the 3rd best passer in all the NBA behind LeBron James and Chris Paul. But he doesn't have that leadership mentality, that leadership DNA that you need. And yeah, it's not like the Wizards or the Warriors. They're not stacked, but in that Eastern Conference with John Wall being the caliber of player that he is, probably a top 5 player in the East, just off top, he has to get this team past the 6th seed. I think they'll be at the 6th seed. They can't not make the playoffs. They can't be an 8th seed. They should be competing for a 4 seed, 3 seed, 4 seed. I don't think they will, but that's where they should be at some point in the year, competing in that middle of the group there. Competing in that mid group. Not the 4, 5, 6, but yeah, the 4, 5, 6. They should be competing in there all year. They're showing a replay of this Tony Kemp catch. And it looked like he caught it. They're trying to see if he caught it off the wall, but it looked like he caught it. Great play by Kemp. A little upset because that was like at least a run. Anyway. Moving on number 7, the Detroit Pistons. Full year of Blake Griffin and Andre Drummond. What's more exciting than that? Full year of 2 really good big men. Here's why I'm not saying I'm not sold. They didn't make the playoffs last year. The Pistons are very, very, very weird, in my opinion, because they have some players where I'm like, they could be good players. You know, Luke Kennard, Stanley Johnson, and Luke Kennard's a little bit more of has already more established role, but they have a couple players that are like, they could either be really, really good or really, really not good, and they're still evening out that potential to see which end of the spectrum they're going to be at. I still have hope in Stanley Johnson, at least as a defender. Luke Kennard could go in a good way and be a good, very, very good 16-point-a-night scorer, in my opinion, just off of shooting alone. And then Blake Griffin has the opportunity to make everyone around him better. He's a very, very good playmaker for a big man. I had him in the MVP race early on in the year because without Chris Paul, he was going to have a lot more attention in the offense with the Clippers. So, until he got traded to Detroit, that is. So they have the potential to be very, very, very good. Not very, very good, but definitely a playoff team. Drummond has improved his pass as well. Last year, they're using him at the top of the elbow and using him as a playmaker as well. And he did a very, very, very good job. Something that I did not know he had the ability to do, and he did very good. But once Blake Griffin came to town, that sort of stopped for him. He stopped posting up. He stopped trying to be a playmaker. He just set screens and do your thing. He averaged 16 rebounds a game last year, which is absolutely absurd. A historic year rebounding wise. He can be a very, very good player if he figures out defensively. And the one thing that will make or break this team, I believe, is the coaching of Dwayne Casey. And Dwayne Casey won Coach of the Year last year, so people are probably like, what do you mean Dwayne Casey's a great coach? 2 years ago, the Raptors were like dead last in ball movement. And last year, their big improvement was ball movement. And Nick Nurse, who they're now current head coach, last year, their bench coach or an assistant coach, was the big reason for that because Dwayne Casey basically said, all right, let's do offense your way. George Springer just gets a hit. Do offense your way, and that was the ball movement. And that's what really helped Toronto. And I hope Dwayne Casey saw that and is going to implement that in Detroit. Because if the ball sticks in Detroit, that team is not making the playoffs. I guarantee it. If Blake Griffin is taking ISO jumpers, if Andre Drummond's trying to go on the block again, if Reggie Jackson's ISOing, that team is not going nowhere. The bench is a little lacking as well. That's why I have them lower. But right now, pencil in Detroit Pistons at the 7th seed. It could be a very up and down year for them. Miami, number 8. Mix of old talent, mix of young talent. You have the Dwayne Wades, the Hassan Whitesides, the Goran Dragics, and then you have the Justice Winslows, the Bam Adebayos, and the Tyler Johnsons. And it's they're basically what you want in a team, just on the very low end. Like let me just focus up this camera here on YouTube. There we go. Hey, guys. You want good veteran talent and a mix of good young talent, where they have a decent old talent and all right young talent with more upside than actually they're playing right now. So they're like, oh, great play by Eduardo Nunez. Great play by Eduardo Nunez right there. He sucks, by the way. Eduardo Nunez sucks. Ugh. Anyway, so there are what you want, but like I said, low end. So this team can either make the playoffs or can be blown up by January easily. Easily. And I even wrote that in my notes. Expect to blow up after this year, potentially mid-season. Whiteside and Dragic will move them into the playoffs. Dwayne Wade will give them at least 3 games, just 3 more wins just by being Dwayne Wade and having Dwayne Wade games at the age of 38 or whatever, how old he is, or 35, 36. So they're going to get a few more wins than they should just because Hassan Whiteside and Goran Dragic are still a respectable duo in the NBA. They're not top 10 in their position by any means, but they're still pretty good players. And then you have Dwayne Wade, who's going to have Dwayne Wade games just out of nowhere, just for no reason, because he felt like it. Really all it is. So they're going to get a few more games. Justice Winslow got a good contract extension. He's going to be a promising young player. Hopefully his offense sort of matures more and sort of fills in to match his defense, the defense that he is able to bring. You also have Tyler Johnson, who's a really good shooter. Josh Richardson's a 3-and-D player. You have Bam Adebayo, who's looking very, very good as a center in the NBA that just run, jump, and dunk, swap passes, kind of DeAndre Jordan mold center, very athletic. type of guy. So he can propel them into the playoffs, or propel them into a cornerstone and be the focus of a rebuild coming up. And that's the East. One surprising team in the East, not one surprising team, one team to look out for. I think the Orlando Magic are making a lot more noise than people think. Oh, the Orlando Magic are making a lot more noise than the people think, honestly. They have a very, very good defensive team. The one thing about them is they won't score like... They'll let up under 100 points, but if they score over 100 points, then you must not be good at defense, really. That's really all it comes down to. Definitely the West is a lot stronger, which we'll get to after this next segment. But that's how the East is stepping out. Let's recap. Number 1 seed, the Boston Celtics. Number 2 seed, Toronto Raptors. Number 3 seed, Milwaukee Bucks. 4 seed, 76ers. 5 seed, Indiana Pacers. 6 seed, Washington Wizards. 7 seed, Detroit Pistons. And the 8 seed, Miami Heat. Now go to your local betting place. Bet your house, bet your car, bet your kids. That's what's going to happen. Trust me, I know. I'm a lot smarter than I look. That's it. That is my East predictions. Now, before we get to the West predictions, we have the Issa Yikes moment of the week. And you hate to see it. You hate to see it. Actually, let me pull something up real quick. But, oh my God, guys. Like I said, the MLB playoffs are in full swing. They are coming down, and you're in the LCS. So, let me go here. And the Red Sox are in the playoffs. And guess who they've played? And guess who they played? And guess who they played in the playoffs? They played the Yankees. And oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, did they play the Yankees in the playoffs. There's one thing I have to say about that. There's only one thing I have to say about that.
Yankees lose.
Wait, here one more time.
Yankees lose.
One more time, David. One more time.
Yankees lose.
And the New York Yankees get out of the playoffs by none other than the Boston Red Sox. Oh boy, did I have a field day with that one. And honestly, I was scared. I was very scared of the Yankees because the joy of winning against the Yankees is less than the pain of losing to the Yankees. And as we mentioned, we're in Houston right now. It's the Red Sox tied 1-1 in the series. Whoever wins this will take a very important 2-1 lead in the series out of 7. And the New York Yankees fall in 4 games through the hands of the Boston Red Sox. Oh no, say it ain't so. All you Yankees fans out there, say that it don't happen, it never happened, that never happened. On top of a 16-1 win, Red Sox over the Yankees. 16-1. Stop. 16-1. Nathan Eovaldi on the mound. 16-1. That's all I have to say about that. That's the Issa Yikes moment of the week. The Yankees, you're a yikes. Your entire organization is a yikes, and we'll see you next year, I guess. Oh, we'll see you next year. Oh, that's the best segment we've had all year. All year is that segment. The Yankees lose. So let's move it over to the Western Conference and what my predictions for the West are going to be. Number 1, a big surprise, a huge surprise actually. The Golden State Warriors are the best team in the league. And here's why. Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, Kevin Durant, Draymond Green, DeMarcus Cousins. All right, let's pack it up. See you guys next year. Hopefully a new NBA champion with ground. No. It's not that simple. Jordan Bell is going to start at center most likely in the beginning of the year because for those of you who do not know, DeMarcus Cousins, who is when healthy, the best big man in the league, or the second best big man in the league behind Anthony Davis. Tore his Achilles in February of last year. He did not get any significant offers that he liked. There was a report of a 2-year, $40 million deal to the New Orleans Pelicans. He turned down because he believed he was worth a max, and I believe he's worth a max. He will be coming back, hopefully around play the playoffs, the last month of the season in the playoffs with the Golden State Warriors to add to their deadly team, and then try his luck again in this upcoming free agent market and hopefully get the max that he actually does deserve. So, yeah, they're scary if you look at it on paper, but if you put that asterisk and say that DeMarcus Cousins theoretically is only playing like 15 to 20 games with the Warriors in the regular season playoffs, yeah, for him in the playoffs, if he is even remotely close to the same player as he was, because Kobe Bryant, when he hurt his Achilles, wasn't the same player. There have been a lot of players in the history of sports that have hurt an Achilles, a major tendon like the Achilles, and have not really come back the same. Kobe Bryant was one. What's his face? Tiny Archibald was one. Patrick Ewing did it as well. There's one more I know I'm forgetting. There's one more. Elgin Baylor as well. Those are 4 Hall of Fame players right there that have were not the same. There's a great stretch by Stephen Pierce. Phenomenal. Get the out. Anyway, Hall of Fame players that are not the same after coming back from that Achilles injury. And DeMarcus Cousins is an extremely, extremely good talent. So hopefully he does come back because he's one of my favorite players in the NBA. I love DeMarcus Cousins, and I don't feel bad. I don't hate on him because he did this. Whatever. It's only 1 year. If he signed like a 5-year deal, then yeah, I'd be like, what the hell, man? Like, what the heck are you doing? But it's a 1-year deal. You're not even getting all of them. It's veteran minimum. He already made a bunch of money. He's gonna get a $5 million pay stub. Book it for a not good team that has the money to get him. And that's what it's going to be. And he's going to try to compete, quote unquote. He's going to get his ring this year. Then no one will say that he has to get a ring because he already has one. He can just get the money and try to be a Hall of Fame player, which I think he's on the pace to be. That's all it is. I mean, the Warriors. They're going to win 70-plus games as well, I believe. That's all I got to say. Number 2, I also have the Houston Rockets. I believe the Trevor Ariza signing with the Phoenix Suns are going to hurt a little bit, but I don't think they're going to hurt as much as, to bring them down in the standings at all. They're still a good team. There we go. And the Houston Astros did not score. There we go. Losing Ariza will be bigger than expected. It won't be anything like they'll fall to the 5th seed, but I feel like not having Ariza there against the Warriors in the Western Conference Finals is going to be very, very shaky. You have PJ Tucker and Aaron Gordon, who lead a strong group of perfect role players for their system. They're very good at getting, penny on the dollar players to come in and just fit their roles, like the Patriots. Just come in, be your role, be good at your role, and then we'll get someone who's younger that can do it as well, who's cheaper as well. That's what they do. And the Houston Rockets have been the premier poster child franchise of doing that over the last 3-4 years. Ever since Mike D'Antoni came to town, they've been giving the ball to James Harden, putting everyone around him, letting him create like that. Clint Capella coming back is a really good thing. I love Clint Capella. I think he's a very, very good center in the NBA. So just my back there. The big question that everyone's asking is, Cody, how do you think Melo's going to play? How will he play? Will he play like last year or how he was supposed to play last year? And he took a lot of ISO shots, defunct the offense for Oklahoma City. But I don't really blame Melo 100% for that. I do blame a lot of that for Billy Donovan, the coach. I don't think he's a very good coach. In the NBA, I think he was a phenomenal coach in his days at the University of Florida, won back-to-back national championships with the Gators in 06 and 07, with Al Horford and Joakim Noah and Corey Brewer and players of like that. But his offenses are very, very elementary. It's like Russell Westbrook and Paul George and Carmelo Anthony. Here are 5 straight plays of 5 ISO plays. Like, it's literally, you do something for like 15 seconds, and it's like, all right, do something with it. Very, very elementary style offense that he runs. And I'm not saying, obviously, hey, he's a good enough coach to be in the NBA, but I don't think he is that. He doesn't get the most out of his talent, is what I'm trying to say. And yeah, I do blame it on Melo because Melo really was still trying to be New York Melo, but I do blame Billy Donovan for not, being the best coach. I still think there were some coaching issues there that he should have fixed but didn't. So I have them at number 2. I don't think it's going to be as huge of an issue. I think Melo's going to be fine in D'Antoni's system. I think that, are we going to get Nuggets Melo? No, but we're not going to get last year Melo either. I think we're going to get a good 16 points a game off pretty efficient shooting. We'll see what he does. If he can knock down the 3 ball, he'd be perfect for this team. Number 3, the Utah Jazz. And I'm big on the Jazz this year. And I do like Donovan Mitchell. I know he has his weaknesses. I don't think he's like the next coming of Kobe Bryant or anything. But a big reason why the Jazz were the 4th seed last year was because of Rudy Gobert. He is an extremely good defensive player. He played 53 games last year, won the Defensive Player of the Year. Now, if you look at the wins they had and the losses they had, and look at the games Gobert played, a lot of the games that Gobert played is a lot of the games they won. And a lot. There you go. So I'm focused again on the camera. And a lot of the games they lost were because he wasn't playing. And now, because Gobert wasn't playing, was why Donovan Mitchell got to be the star he was and got to be the player that he showed basically his full potential there. But add those two for a full season to go along with Ricky Rubio, to go along with Thabo Sefolosha, to go along with Royce O'Neal, to go along with Joe Ingles, to go along with Jay Crowder, to go along with Grayson Allen with things and have a really good rookie campaign. They have a lot of players that fit. They have a lot of good role players, and that's what separates the good teams and the great teams, the role players. You don't need 88 superstars on a team. But if you have 1 or 2 with a bunch of good role players, that's perfect. That's great. And that's what they have. They have 2 stars and a bunch of good role players. And that's all they need. The one big thing I'm looking for this year is how are they going to play Derek Favors? Are they going to play him as a starter like they have the last few years? Or are they going to put him on the bench in favor of a player like, Jay Crowder? Now, Jay Crowder is much more fit in the NBA, while Derek Favors is a good rebounder, a decent low post defender, but he's very plotty, he's very slow, he's very not fast, not run and gun like everyone in the NBA is now. But he is still a good player. He still can give you valuable minutes. But I think he's more suited for a bench role. You bring in Jay Crowder to guard multiple positions, to knock down open 3-point shooters with that team around him. I feel like that's the move. Now, I'd be disappointed if they start Favors. No, I won't. I feel like they'll still be pretty good if you start Favors or start Jay Crowder. But like I mentioned, Jay Crowder's a really good role player, and I think they do more damage with him in the lineup than they can without him in the lineup. Number 4, I have the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now, they subtracted Carmelo Anthony, the greatest player in Atlanta Hawks history. And they got Dennis Schroeder. And everyone's like, oh, that's going to be perfect. Schroeder isn't ball hog like Anthony is, blah, 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 blah. They just basically upgraded by subtracting. They're going to be the best team to ever play basketball. And here's why you're wrong. No, do I like the addition of Schroeder? I don't mind it. I would have rather they got someone other than Schroeder, but I don't think Schroeder remotely fixes their problem. He's another ball-dominant ISO guard who plays point guard. You know who else plays point guard? Russell Westbrook. So here's how it's going to happen. Say Russell Westbrook plays 36 minutes a game. For your 6th man like Schroeder, you would roughly like him playing around 25 to 26 27 to 23 in that range, 23, 27 minutes a game. So it means for 12 minutes, you can let Schroeder play his full potential. For the other 12 minutes, 13 minutes, 20 minutes that you're playing him, he can't be used as potential because he's not that good off ball, and Russell Westbrook is not that good off ball, and Russell Westbrook won't let you don't put Russell Westbrook off ball in the game. So balancing out the minutes of Schroeder, the minutes of Westbrook, and making them the most effective as long as still getting PG his shots and still, keeping everyone involved in the offense is going to be very, very hard, I believe. I don't think Billy Donovan is the coach for this type of team. Because they're very ISO heavy, and he's like, all right, just go ISO. And that works sometimes. If you really need a bucket, the Celtics do it sometimes with Kyrie Irving. They did it with Isaiah Thomas. They do it all the time. If you need a bucket, give it to your best player and say, get me a bucket. If you're like, I don't need to play, just put it in his hands, pick and roll, get me a bucket. And that works for situations, or if you're in a scoring drought or whatever. But for every play, that's when it gets bad, because then everyone's like, all right, I'm just going to shoot all the time. I'm just going to do this. I'm just going to do that. And it doesn't work like that. And it doesn't translate into the wins that you would like to see, the wins that you want. So that's my little spew on them. They're still extremely talented. They'll win just because of their talent alone. Russell Westbrook is great. Paul George is a top 15 player in the NBA, so they're fine that way. They'll be okay. But will they be that third seed, that push up? And honestly, I had them lower than 4, and I'll get into why I had them lower than that in the beginning and why my opinion changed. But I see them as a 4 seed right now in the NBA. Number 5. LeBron James. No, it's Lakers. Lakers number 5, but the real reason is because of LeBron James. I mean, that team is an okay team. Where they were last year is where a lot of people expect them to be. They're very young. They're very talented. They have the ability. Kuzma, do I think he's going to be some All-NBA player? No. Brandon Ingram, do I think he's going to improve? Yes. Lonzo Ball, do I think he's going to improve? Yes. How much are they going to improve? I don't think they're going to jump up and all be superstars at the same time. I feel like Josh Hart's a little overrated. I mean, just a lot of people think this Lakers team is the next best thing. And yeah, they can be in like 4 years and 3 years, but right now, no. And I have seen LeBron James too many times to not put him in the playoffs. He has taken very, very bad teams and put them in the playoffs. Yes, it's in the East. Yes. Will he win 50 games in the West? Maybe. It depends on how the season comes out. I can see them winning 47 games and making the playoffs. Maybe they're a little lower than 5, maybe not. But right now, having the number 5 seed just because of the teams below them. And it's just really LeBron James. That LeBron James factor is real. That LeBron James factor is a thing. And he's the best player on the planet, undisputedly. He's a great playmaker. You give him the ball when it's time on the line. In the last few years, more often than not, he does perform in the clutch, unlike the stigma of not being a clutch player before. And everyone knows how much I hate LeBron James. So this is all high praise. So I think he's going to put them into that top. They have a good Lance Stephenson's. There's a reason that these players like Stevenson or Rondo and JaVale McGee have been around different teams the last few years. They're not what they were in their peaks. Peak Rondo was probably a top 3-point guard in the league. He's not bad anymore. He ain't. Lance Stevenson is good. Is he the shooter they need? No, maybe not. Contavious Caldwell-Pope's a good shooter, and he's a good defender. So they have pieces. Do they have all the pieces? No. Do I see them winning a playoff series? No. A lot of people are putting them in the conference finals. I say no. LeBron's good, not that good. But that's where I have the Lakers number 4. Number 5, rather. Now, if we go to number 6, I had the San Antonio Spurs number 6. Originally, I had them at number 4, but because of the injuries they've sustained so far in this season, Dejounte Murray has been out for the year. I know Derek White, who was supposed to be a rotational guard, they're going to bring up and play more, especially that Murray got hurt. He's out for, I believe, 8 weeks. I know there's someone else. Is Brian McCann hits a lazy fly ball. Red Sox threw 2-1, by the way. they're hurt. And do I think they'll find their way? Of course. I love the addition of DeMar DeRozan for this team. Basically, last year they played the entire year with the same team they have. You just take Danny Green out and put in not Kawhi Leonard. DeMar DeRozan, I think that's an upgrade. He's a top 20 player in the NBA, in my opinion. He's a very good mid-range shooter. A little overrated. I don't think he's like a top 10 player in the league, like some people that I've talked to do. He's great scorer and all, but not that great defensively. Pretty good, decent playmaker, but not really anything great. Not a good shooter. But for what he can do for this team, I think he'll be fine. But because of the injuries in the first 2 months of the season, I think they're going to lose a few games they should win, or they're going to lose a few games where if they were full strength, they'd be more competitive. And in a deep Western Conference like that, do you really climb back like that? I don't think so. I don't really think they climb back all the way. I don't think they climb back in the 4 seed like I originally had them. If they're full strength, maybe, yeah, they'll be in that 4 seed, definitely. But like I mentioned, because of the injuries, they're going to slip a few games, at least early on in the season. If you look at a player like LaMarcus Aldridge, and LaMarcus Aldridge's whole thing was he wanted to be the man. He went to San Antonio, and by the time he was in San Antonio, excuse me, that's when Kawhi Leonard was really pushing to be the best player in the league, one of the best players in the league. So LaMarcus Aldridge's first 2 seasons in San Antonio was like, what the heck? I was brought in here to be the guy, and now I'm the second player again because he was starting to become the second option. Damian Lillard, and he hated that. He wants to be the first guy. He's one of those quote-unquote divas that wants to be the best player. Is he better than DeMar DeRozan? No. This is going to be very, very make or break because last year LaMarcus Aldridge played phenomenally because Kawhi Leonard wasn't playing, so he could do whatever he wanted. He could be the number one option. So there we go. That's what I think. If LaMarcus Aldridge plays like he did last season, they'll be a very good team. If he doesn't, they lose some games they should win. He can't ball hog. He has to buy into Pop, and I feel like he bought in last year. If he can buy in one more time, just one more time, they'll be good to go. Any other notes? Give Greg Popovich. That's it. That's all they need. Now, Denver Nuggets number 7. I've been on the Denver Nuggets hype train last year. I thought they were going to be a playoff team last year. This year, I know they're going to be a playoff team. They have the potential to be the best offense in the league. On the flip side, they have the potential to be the worst defensive team in the league. If you look at their starting 5 or where the top 5, 6 players are, Jamal Murray, Gary Harris, what's her face? Oh my God, I'm forgetting. Nikola Jokic. They have good wing players. They have a lot, Paul Millsap as well to go on with that. They have players that can score the basketball. That's no doubt. They have players that can score the basketball. That's no doubt. Jokic is one of the best young players in the league. I have him top 25. Gary Harris and Jamal Murray are on their way to being some of the more prominent guards in the NBA. Paul Millsap is one of my favorite players. I think he's very good. He's like the only plus defender on this team, and he's a little bit older now, and he missed most of last season, so what are we really going to get from him? But I do like the Denver Nuggets in this Western Conference playoffs, especially with the Minnesota Timberwolves, in my opinion, getting rid of Jimmy Butler before they can really gain any steam, so I don't think the Timberwolves are going to make the playoffs. Spoiler alert. I think they are going to deal Jimmy. I think they are going to get rid of him, and we'll see what happens from there. Now, like I said, defensively, they're not. I could go up there and drop 35 on the Nuggets. I really could. I really could. I really, really, really could. But they are going to score a lot. They have the potential to score 115 points per night, and they are that good. They have shooters, scorers, playmakers everywhere, and that just adds to the allure of how good they are in the offensively. They just have so many weapons and so many options they can turn to and go to. It's just so hard to stop that way. And it's very, very, very good. They're very, very good offense. I mean, that's basically what they are. Good offense. They added Isaiah Thomas as well, who I hopefully turns into not exactly 2 years ago Isaiah, but at least better than last year's Isaiah. So they have the potential to be very, very, very good. And my opinion, 7 seed in the playoffs. Number 8, give me the New Orleans Pelicans. They are basically that superstar with role players team, just on a lower scale. Just like Miami was that young and old talent, just on a lower scale. This is the New Orleans Pelicans. Excuse me. Anthony Davis is a top 5 player in the NBA. He's going to put up MVP stats. Will he be the MVP? No, because Pelicans are going to be the 8 seed. But he is he's a great defensive player. He's a great offensive player. He's a great player. Like I said, top 5 in the NBA. Has potential to be top 3 player after this year, depending on how Kawhi Leonard plays. He has the serious ability to be, the 3rd best player in the NBA after this season. When DeMarcus Cousins went down in that stretch he had, that was one of the more impressive stretches I've ever seen a player have. He was averaging 35 and 14 every night for 2 months. Dude's an absolute freak. So that's something. Drew Holiday was a lot more underrated than he is. He's a very good player, offensively and defensively. Defensive, I believe, 2nd team or 1st team. Don't quote me on that, but I know he did make the defensive team. Good playmaker, a good shooter. I don't think they have everything. They have Nikola Mirotic, who's a really good shooter. They have Julius Randle, who's a good player. I don't know if they're going to start him and put him off the bench, depending on what they want to do with Mirotic. Will be a 3 or a 4, blah, blah, blah. Each-One Moore is an okay player. They have a lot of okay players, okay role players. They don't have that upper-tier role player that the Houston Rockets or the Golden State Warriors or the Utah Jazz have. They have more of those role players, the okay role players that they have. Offensively, they will struggle a little bit, mostly because Anthony Davis is a bad game. I don't see anyone else really having a great game, sort of. Anyway, that's my 8 seed. Not a really good explanation on the Pelicans. I just really like Anthony Davis, and his talent can propel that team into the playoffs. I think they are more talented than the Portland Trailblazers team, which I omitted. Like I said, I don't think that Minnesota are going to make the playoffs. Would I be surprised if the 7-8 seed features Minnesota or Portland? I wouldn't be surprised, but I just don't think it will happen. I really don't like the Trailblazers team. I love Damian, I love CJ, but I just don't think that those two together and the team they have around is going to be a good team. That's it. One team to look out for, the Memphis Grizzlies. Do I think they make playoffs? No. But if it's a very low win season for the West and a lot of the lower historically you have to win 50 games to get in the playoffs in the West, but if they have one of those years with a 45 win team or a 43 win teams except 8 seed, which I don't see happening, but if that does happen, Memphis could be right there on the hunt. I feel like a full year Marc Gasol, a full year of Mike Conley, like I mentioned, could go a long way. You had Jaren Jackson Jr., who's not like an MVP player right now, but he's a very good rookie. Yeah. That's what I got for you. So let's recap my 1 through 8. You have the Warriors of Golden State, the Rockets of Houston, the Jazz of Utah, the Oklahoma City Thunder at 4, the Los Angeles Lakers at 5, the San Antonio Spurs 6, Denver Nuggets at 7, and the New Orleans Pelicans at 8. Now, if you are new to the show, or if you are not new to the show, I like to end it with a Today in Sports History fact. And today's sports history, in conjunction with today's NBA starting up again, the Milwaukee Bucks played their first ever game in franchise history against the Chicago Bulls on this day in 1968. Where were you on this day in 1968? Because I know the city of Milwaukee was rocking because they had a new NBA team that they were playing with. They lost 84-89, 89-84. The Chicago Bulls won. So that's it. That's the show for this week. Like I said, that's the predictions of the standings for this upcoming NBA season starting tonight. So definitely go on TNT and watch at least the Boston Celtics take on the Philadelphia 76ers. So definitely do that. Also follow the Twitter at _cover_3 for more sports information that you don't get to see on these Tuesdays. Also, like I said, follow Celtics Pulse on Twitter, and look at the website. I think I have 2 or 3 articles up there right now. If you want to go check, you can. I believe you can search by author. I know we have a few very good authors and contributors to that site as well. So definitely look at everyone else too. They have good basketball minds. Check out our podcasts. I've been on a few of those. We have a sports podcast and a Celtics podcast, Celtics NBA, that I am a part of there as well. And yeah, I think that's just about it. Come back next week. We'll be talking about most likely the NBA, not the NBA playoffs, but how the first week of the NBA has went, my likes, dislikes, something like that. And we'll definitely talk about my Boston Red Sox and the rest of this playoff series that is unfolding in front of our eyes. So that is it. I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of the day, and I will see you all later.